either younger than us or, passed and retired. So why not? I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, and why not, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy.
But if you study Floyd closely, like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
Terence Crawford reportedly accepts Floyd Mayweather's fight offer during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford explains that for him, boxing is about pushing limits and taking on challenges no matter how big they seem. He emphasizes that the best should always fight the best, and he is ready to step up once again. With calm confidence, Crawford makes it clear that facing Mayweather is another chance for him to prove himself and push beyond every expectation.
Businessman, because this is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you got to know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy,
Stephen A. Smith has always been outspoken in his sports coverage, and boxing is no exception. When he praises Terence Crawford for becoming a champion in 4 different weight divisions, it is more than a simple compliment, it's recognition of an accomplishment rarely seen in modern boxing. In today's era, where fighters often avoid moving across divisions due to risk, Crawford's success at 4 weights places him in a special class. Stephen A. stresses that such versatility and dominance confirm Crawford as an all-time great pound-for-pound fighter. It highlights not only his physical adaptability but also his technical brilliance, mental toughness, and drive to keep challenging himself against tougher competition.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept his different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford's.
Roy Jones Jr., a legend who understands what it takes to rule across divisions, has spoken highly of Crawford's brilliance in the ring. He notes that in Crawford's fight with Canelo Alvarez, he showed the ability to borrow from the styles of Floyd Mayweather and Erislandy Lara, 2 fighters who gave Canelo problems in different ways. According to Jones, Crawford's ability to study, observe, and apply effective strategies sets him apart. It proves he is not only skilled but also a sharp student of boxing. What impressed Jones most was how Crawford didn't simply copy these techniques, but blended them into his own rhythm, making them more effective in real time. This adaptability separates him from fighters who rely on one style and struggle against elite opponents.
Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career. People like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He got
hit with some single shots going out. He's going out and Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a two-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie. And sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The idea of Crawford stepping into the ring with Floyd Mayweather, even in an exhibition, has sparked intense debate. Critics argue that a fight like this might damage Crawford's legacy. They believe that instead of building on his historic victories, such as dismantling Errol Spence and outclassing Canelo, he would be chasing financial gain rather than competitive greatness. This view comes from the fact that Mayweather's recent career has focused on high-paying exhibitions instead of meaningful legacy fights. Analysts point out that Crawford has worked too hard to be seen as someone choosing money over history. Others argue that Crawford's legacy is already secure, and if he fights Mayweather, it would simply add another compelling chapter to his story.
Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to cash out.
When fans compare the careers of Mayweather and Crawford, the conversation becomes complicated. Floyd's record includes victories over some of the sport's biggest names. However, critics often question the timing of those wins. Canelo was still young and inexperienced when he fought Mayweather, and Pacquiao was injured during their long-awaited fight in 2015. Additionally, Floyd's reluctance to grant rematches, especially with Pacquiao, has left lingering doubts for many fans. In contrast, Crawford's dominance has come against fighters considered at their peak when facing him. This contrast fuels ongoing debate about whether Mayweather's perfection was due to superior skill or strategic timing and matchmaking.
They're still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. There's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud in my opinion.
Tony Jeffries, a respected boxing analyst, emphasizes that Floyd Mayweather's greatest weapon wasn't only his defense or speed but his mindset. According to Jeffries, Floyd's unwavering belief that he could beat anyone made him incredibly dangerous. Even in close matchups, Mayweather's confidence in his elite boxing IQ always gave him an advantage. His ability to read opponents, adjust instantly, and remain calm under pressure set him apart from fighters who relied mainly on physical gifts. Jeffries notes that this psychological edge, combined with technical precision, made Floyd appear nearly unbeatable and is the reason he retired with an unblemished record.
Strong mindset, they're really confident, they really believe in themselves, but you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success before he even stepped into the ring. There was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under. And he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete, or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013, when he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo came in a young, strong, undefeated fighter, but by round 2, Floyd kind of had him figured out. He was reading Canelo's jab. He would slip outside and then come back with a clean counter punch, then move his feet and get out of the way. He basically had the full fight under control, and he was controlling the full rhythm of the fight. He was forcing Canelo to fight at his pace. And this is what he would do in all of his fights. He would get his opponent to do what he wanted them to do without their opponent even realizing it, which is what we call boxing IQ. Now, even though I'm not a fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, because of the time when I did meet him, what he said to me made me just feel like this guy is a...
Boxing world is always searching for exciting matchups, and lately one of the most discussed possibilities is Terence Crawford versus David Benavidez. Benavidez brings size, power, and relentless pressure, qualities that create a unique challenge. Fans see this fight as the kind of risk that could push Crawford beyond anything he has faced before. The speculation continues, even though nothing is confirmed. This debate reflects the fans' desire for high-risk, legacy-defining fights instead of exhibitions that offer more financial appeal than sporting value. Crawford versus Benavidez would be a clash of skill versus size, precision versus aggression, making it a dream matchup for many boxing fans.
Not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7", with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big...
Pairing Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford remains a debate without a clear answer. Both fighters faced the best opponents of their eras and emerged victorious with dominant performances. While Floyd's perfect record and defensive genius set him apart in his generation, Crawford's ability to rise through weight classes and still dominate is equally remarkable. The challenge in comparing them is that their eras and circumstances are too different for a direct conclusion. Ultimately, it may be impossible to name one as definitively greater, but together they represent the highest level of boxing excellence.
My goodness, I said that was going to happen. If Crawford was to win, we're going to be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is going to be better. Now, this is going to be a debate for a long, long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, This is where things get really, really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But, man, like I said, this is going to be a debate for a very long time. And I can't wait to hear all the talk about it. But I'm curious on your thoughts. Who you think wins in the fight, Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it, and follow me for more Boston Talk.
Greg Hackett's comments about Crawford's win over Canelo perfectly capture the symbolic weight of that fight. By calling Canelo the best in boxing, Hackett highlights how dominant and feared Canelo had been for more than a decade. Crawford's ability to not just fight him but take control and break him down marks a major power shift. In Hackett's view, Crawford has now become the new predator in the division, the fighter everyone fears, the one at the top of the sport. This victory didn't just add to his resume, it changed the boxing landscape, marking Crawford as the man who dethroned the shark and became the hunter himself.
Because you got to remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, you know, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit. Got to make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what.
A monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Sure, man.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Your line of suits, get your money, man. Go ahead and get the easy money, man. You ain't got to sweat no more.
What's up, boy?
Not saying you ain't got to work, you ain't got to sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he's like, man, this ain't.
Crawford's victory over Canelo Alvarez was a career-defining moment that lifted him beyond any remaining doubts. Before this, his win over Errol Spence had already silenced critics questioning his competition level. Against Spence, Crawford proved he could dominate an elite fighter from the opening round to the end. But dismantling Canelo, a fighter seen as nearly unbeatable, secured his place in history. Analysts now widely agree that these victories end any debate about whether Crawford deserves recognition among the greatest fighters ever. His ability to outclass champions in multiple divisions proves his dominance without question.
But I think there was enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay. I saw somebody like, they're squabbing. Like, there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't, well, James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not going to, but Crawford didn't do that.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next time.